So have you been paying attention to the news recently? There is a report out there, and let's believe it because that's way more fun, although it always takes speculation with a pinch of salt. The WWE has looked at the WrestleMania 41 main event card and gone, do you know who absolutely needs to be in one of those slots? CM Punk. This makes all the sense in the world because when CM Punk came out in that Raw a few weeks ago, before he did get into it with Seth Rollins, he was saying, well, you know, after all the craziness I've been through at War Games, I know what's in my future. And he pointed to an invisible WrestleMania sign. But that was the point. He was pointing to the sign because at WrestleMania, he wants to win a championship. And I do not think WWE would have told him to do that if they didn't have plans to carry up on it, because otherwise it's going to look absolutely ridiculous. And we were going to do this in 2024. Of course, it was going to be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins in the WrestleMania main event on Saturday night. And the injuries happened, or the craziness with Cody Rhodes happened, and that's wrestling for you, and let's hope it doesn't happen again, because look at someone like Bronson Reed, right? All the love to that guy. He decided to do a crazy splash off the top of the cage, which was amazing, and now it may keep him out of WrestleMania 41. So wrestling is in a state of flux all of the time. But when I sit down here, I thought, okay, let me try and plan the WrestleMania 41 main events. And as we've said in the title, it doesn't actually make any sense right now, because it's way too early. We still have 4 flipping months to sort of get this stuff done. But if CM Punk is going to be in one of the main events, who the hell does he fight? Because as we know, you may have seen this by the time you've seen this video, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins is happening on that Netflix debut on the 6th of January. That whole show is amazing. We have that. We have Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. We have Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. So it is like a mini WrestleMania, which was the rumor as well. But I imagine there's going to be some sort of shenanigans there, kind of leaning towards thinking maybe Seth Rollins is going to go mega heel and we start doing stuff with Drew McIntyre. But even if we want to get 3 matches out of that, that's a long way to stretch to WrestleMania, but more power to this new WWE, they can do it. But it would also mean, at some point in that juncture, either CM Punk or Seth Rollins is going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, because I presume that Cody Rhodes is going to be tied up. We'll talk about that in just 1 second. Now, if I was WWE, which I'm not, I'm never going to be, especially because they're a company, and I'm a human being, I would want CM Punk to win the championship at WrestleMania. He's the good guy. He's the person that everybody loves. I guess we could turn him heel, but it doesn't feel like the time, although in the future, absolutely. And that's just how WWE likes to do things. It makes all the sense in the world. They want to send you home happy from their biggest show of the year. That would then mean, if we continue walking down this path, that Gunther will take on Seth Rollins at some point, and Seth Rollins will beat him. Now, that is a very, very interesting situation, because Gunther actually is somebody else who has a huge question mark over him. There are rumors that he's going to take on Logan Paul soon, which I don't want to see. Just going to be completely honest with you, it doesn't excite me at all, but hey-ho, not everything can be designed for this bald idiot. I, at one point, fantasy booked, and again, fantasy booking is ridiculous at the best of times, that John Cena could win the Royal Rumble, then he takes on Gunther and loses to Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship before he goes all the way through his retirement year and beats the Ring General or whoever to become the champion during his retirement. Seeming less and less likely as all this news does come out. But the only way I can think about it is Gunther has been teased about going babyface, right? So you could do a Gunther versus Seth Rollins match. Maybe the Royal Rumble, maybe the Elimination Chamber, maybe wherever. I don't know. Maybe Seth Rollins wins the Royal Rumble, right? Maybe do it that way. Seth Rollins wins the Royal Rumble, but then he would take on Gunther at WrestleMania. You see, there's so many damn questions. But let's say just somehow, because we are turning Gunther babyface, he is going to take on Logan Paul apparently, and Seth Rollins is going heel. At least that works as a dynamic if you are going to go in that direction. And you could even involve, like I say, Drew McIntyre somehow to help Seth Rollins, and then him be like, I see how much you hate the bloodline too, so I wanted to help you out. And then sure, CM Punk could win the Rumble, CM Punk could win the Elimination Chamber match, and if Seth Rollins does win on the January 6th show, it would absolutely set up the Saturday Night 1 main event of CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. And I think people would be into that, because when they wrestle in early January, there are no championships, and you are going to get a victor, I would presume. So if all of a sudden they are doing the rematch or match 3 or whatever it may be, at that April show, it's going to be that wonderful moment in wrestling when you know what the obvious thing is. We're going to give CM Punk the title, and we're going to do it in the WrestleMania main event. It'll be absolutely wonderful, and it'll make you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. And because when we got here, yes, if you main event the Saturday night, it counts as a main event. I'm done with that argument. I think it's so damn boring. Of course it counts. Imagine the first time you took a bump, and then someone said, oh, in 10 years, you're going to be main event in night 1 of WrestleMania. You wouldn't go, well, that's not the real main event. And you shouldn't sound like that anyway, because you sound like a muppet. However, this is the issue. When we jump to WrestleMania Night 2, I have been convinced for a while that it's definitely going to be The Rock and Cody Rhodes in some guys. I don't think The Rock is not going to be there. And if he's not, I totally understand, right? It's a crazy schedule. How he did it last year, or this year, I should say. I don't know. But if I do follow my guts, which is a weird thing to say, and I do believe it's going to be Cody versus Roman for Cody versus The Rock. How does Roman Reigns fit into that? Because now we've also teased the fact that it could be Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. But you're not going to do that at WrestleMania because I cannot see a world where Roman Reigns wins the World Championship. And even if he did win the World Championship, I cannot see him all of a sudden losing it at WrestleMania. I think that's too close. I don't think anybody would agree to that unless your name was CM Punk. Totally understandable. So then you start thinking, well, if we are going to tie up night one with CM Punk and a Seth Rollins or whoever, then on the night two, if Roman Reigns isn't involved in that, maybe all of a sudden the three-way that I predicted and pushed for the other day does become true because you just don't have any other species on the card. But then you have to jump forward to SummerSlam this year, or in 2025, which obviously is going 2 nights. This is something else I've advocated for, depending on people's timings. It is so important that you sell that SummerSlam as Hot WrestleMania. I know I've joked about this for years, but this is different now because you are going over an entire weekend, and the only other time WWE has done that is for WrestleMania over the last few years. So if you want to start selling 60,000 plus tickets to SummerSlam as well, which of course is the idea, and getting more people on Peacock and Netflix and all of these things, it has to have a similar card. It's only like 6 months, not even that, man. It's May, June, July. It's only 4 months after WrestleMania this year. Maybe if The Rock cannot make it to April, you do The Rock versus Roman Reigns there. That's a huge match. Does it really matter if it's not at WrestleMania when you're going to be in a stadium anyway and you're going to be pushing harder and it gives Dwayne Johnson more time to get ready? I don't think that's the craziest idea in the world, which again brings us back to WrestleMania. Do you do Cody versus Roman round 3? Roman Reigns has been very vocal about wanting to win that championship back, but I'd also argue Cody has to win that thing, and then what the flub does that do to Roman Reigns? And how does the rest of the bloodline fit into this? Like, it's so massively interesting. Or are we going to do Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk? I don't know. That's something that you can kind of throw in there from nowhere. But if you want CM Punk to win a championship, there's only 2 options, and it all depends on what Gunther is going to do for the next few months, and it all depends what CM Punk is going to do. Maybe John Cena takes on Gunther, beats him, and you do Cena versus Punk at WrestleMania. Seems nuts, seems crazy, but it would do gangbusters, and it would get people so interested. Because not only is it one of those matches you never thought you'd see again, but you would have so much nostalgia, and people being like, I remember that from back in 2011 especially. I'm going to tune in. And what a crazy world we'd be living in if CM Punk beat John Cena at WrestleMania for the championship. I think that is way out there. I don't think it's going to happen. I would argue there's a less than 1% chance of that going down. But we do have all these things in flux at the moment, which is why there was one point I didn't think CM Punk was going to be in that main event slot. I think it was going to be way more murky than this. But again, if we do lean into these murmurs and he is going to be in there, I'd have to imagine, these are my prediction parts, that night one will be CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, because I cannot see a feud that would be any bigger for the championship than that, unless you do move Roman Reigns into that spot, but I've already told you why I don't think we're going to do that, which means I'm going to say it. I'm going to get comfortable in my chair. I do believe it's The Rock versus Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the WWE title on that night too, and that could tie into numerous things, given that we do have Solo versus Roman on the Raw show, the Netflix debut. The Rock is absolutely going to be on that thing too, so he's probably going to get involved after the fact. Maybe the thing The Rock gave to Cody Rhodes has something to do with Roman Reigns. That's how you drag Roman Reigns in there too. And also, and again, I don't want to talk on behalf of Dwayne Johnson because it's hugely unfair. I'm just sort of throwing an idea out there. He did an interview recently with People magazine, I believe, saying how hard it is to get in shape for wrestling, especially due to his schedule and his age. And it would help being in a triple threat match because it just throws an extra person in there. Now, don't get me wrong, being in a three-way has its own issues and its own hurdles you have to overcome and its own obstacles, but it is still, if you wanted to take The Rock out, not to dinner, you want to throw him through a table and he just lays there for 5 minutes, you could absolutely do that. And also, if you're looking for maximum star power, I totally understand the singles matches would be more exciting to us fans. But if The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, cannot assure that he can do that, and this is the only slot that he's got, I don't think you want to risk missing out on that back and forth. Like, I would much rather have the three-way than never get any kind of interaction from a versus point of view between The Rock and Roman Reigns. Because especially given what we did at WrestleMania 40, when we were going to do that and then we pivoted, we all know the story. You have to do it eventually. I think people would be absolutely devastated if not, and I totally get that. So before it makes sense, I put this in the title, but my predictions based on the current rumor mill would indeed be for the World Heavyweight Championship on night one, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, maybe in a stipulation too. You could throw that in there as well. And on Sunday, I think it's going to be The Rock versus Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the WWE title. And I would argue maybe Cody Rhodes even wins that, and that's it, man. He's the top babyface. We've submitted him forever, and we can go through 2025 blowing a whistle and having a good time. But it is so awesome how complicated this is, because then there's a Kevin Owens, there's a Drew McIntyre, there's a Sami Zayn. Like I said, there's everybody in the bloodline. There are so many other people that need to be in big profile matches when we get to WrestleMania 41. And how we figure them in at the moment, I do not know, which is why I keep going back to this. I keep saying it over and over again. We have so long to go to WrestleMania. People think it's like round the corner just because we're almost in January, but it's not the case. The Rumble isn't until early February. First time it's not been in January, as far as I can remember. And I think WWE's aware of that too, that they're being patient. Like the Cody Rhodes Randy Orton feud could come before WrestleMania. And if everything does fall apart, do you do Cody versus Randy at that WrestleMania show? And then do you do Roman Reigns versus CM Punk for a world title? I don't know, man. Roman Reigns could absolutely win the Royal Rumble. He could do. CM Punk could win the Rumble. Seth Rollins could win the Rumble. There are so many contenders for the Rumble this year that I think if it's booked right, it could be one of those we look back on and go, hey ho, that was an awesome show. And as we know, that rhymes. So it must be true. So this one really has me baffled. And when I read that report, I was like, man, I have no idea how to take this. That's exactly what I want for my wrestling. I want to be guessing. But I made my predictions now. And of course, we'll revisit this in a couple of months. And I will totally undermine what I have just said. That's what Simon Miller has done since day one. Now, of course, please do like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is me talking about more wrestling. Click the notification bell, especially on the mobile app. That is so damn important. And please do go to grillermind.com/Simon to use the code Simon to get 10% off all Griller Mind supplements. I use all of these. It ships worldwide. All the links are down there should you wish to click it. Patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on all social media. Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon Miller on Cameo. Simon Miller at Pro Wrestling Tees. Please buy yourself a t-shirt because it does make me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum, which is one of my damn teas. But as is the holiday season, I really do hope you have some lovely time planned with your family, your friends, or maybe you just want to sit around and eat pizza, which is also cool. Happy 2025 too, and I'll see you soon.